Good morning. Welcome to our fourth webinar, third webinar. I've lost count. Fourth webinar. So welcome to everybody here. And we're going to give just a couple minutes for folks to start to come on. So if you'd like to top off your coffee for just a second, we'll be starting in just a minute. Dr. Raut, would you could you unmute your mic and come on?
Nora, I just submitted him so you can ask him again.
Dr. Raut, could you unmute your mic and come on, please? Dr. Raut, good
Yes.
morning.
Yeah,
Hi.
good morning. Hi, Sarah.
Thank you for coming. Margaret and I are very happy to have you here. And we wanted to, I've made you a presenter, and I wanted to double check and make sure that you were able to be heard and you would be able to share your screen and pull up your presentation. Would you like to go first, or would you like Margaret to go first?
Yeah, I don't have any problem.
Okay, terrific. If you would like to, you should be able to share your screen and bring your presentation up.
Yeah, sure.
And welcome to everybody who's here for our fourth in our webinar series. And this one is on Indigenous ways of learning and healing. And so when we get our materials up, Dr. Raut, if you'd like to go ahead and start your presentation,
Yeah.
we will get kicked off right away. Thank you, and thanks to everybody for coming and participating. It's good to see everybody here again. I'm going to go ahead and go off camera.
Yeah. Sarah, actually, I'm not able to share. Hello.
Yes. So when you click the share button, is it
Yeah,
what's it?
I clicked it, but I'm not able to share the.
What are you seeing?
No, I'm not able to. It is asking for go to security and privacy screen recording. Okay.
What software did you use for your presentation?
It's Teams only.
It's okay.
Sorry. I'm not able to share my screen.
Okay. Do you have your presentation in like PowerPoint?
Yes, PowerPoint.
All right. Can you see the chat?
Yes.
I'm going to drop my email. If you send me your presentation,
Yeah.
I'll work on that. Margaret, would you be
Sure.
prepared to go ahead and start?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Do your thing, and we'll work on getting Dr. Rots up. Thanks.
Perfect. Good morning. Before I started, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Margaret Gutierrez. I'm a professor in the program, and I teach everything from the certificate program to the bachelor's program. And with that, I will get started. Can everybody see my screen? Thank you. All right, this morning we're going to talk about Indigenous ways of knowledge. I'm going to focus on the Native American perspectives on learning and education. Before I'll start, I'll share that I'm an enrolled member with the Citizen Potawatomi Nation in Oklahoma. We're going to focus specifically on how students learn and the things that I focus on more importantly in the classroom. Indigenous knowledge is a holistic, experiential, and community-rooted way of understanding the world. For us, the knowledge is not just content, but a way of living, learning, and relating, passed down through generations. Our education is deeply tied to place, language, and tradition. The entire community, elders, most importantly, family, and peers play a role in the education process. We believe that knowledge is to be shared, not owned, and passed down through storytelling, observation, and participation. Learning is experiential through doing, watching, and listening, not always through a formal instruction. This is a lifelong journey, and it's not confined to classrooms or formal schooling. There are 5 core principles that we're going to focus on: the respect for nature, community involvement, holistic understanding, experiential learning, and the interconnectedness of life. In Indigenous worldviews, nature is viewed as a living relative and a source of wisdom. Animals, plants, and seasonal cycles all guide human behavior and learning. Humans are part of a relational web of life, not separate from it. This perspective fosters a sense of responsibility and reciprocity. We care for the land as it cares for us. Respect for nature underpins sustainable living, where practices like seasonal harvesting and giving thanks ensure resources are preserved for future generations. Learning from the land teaches patience, humility, and attentiveness. Education is a shared responsibility. Elders, family, and peers all contribute to the learning journey through storytelling, observation, and hands-on involvement. Knowledge is passed down through generations, ensuring cultural continuity and adapting lessons to meet current needs while honoring ancestral wisdom. Community involvement reinforces cultural values and teaches cooperation, respect, and accountability, skills that benefit individuals and the community. Holistic education embraces the emotional, spiritual, physical, and intellectual dimensions of life, recognizing that true learning happens when all aspects of a person are engaged. This approach promotes balance and harmony, both within the individual and in the relationship with the community and the natural world. By integrating multiple ways of knowing, Indigenous learning supports overall well-being, helping individuals grow in resilience, self-awareness, and purpose. Education is deeply experiential, with knowledge gained through hands-on activities, observation, and participation in daily life and cultural practices. Storytelling, traditional crafts, ceremonies, and time spent in nature are active learning experiences that build understanding, memory, and cultural identity. This approach keeps learners engaged and connected, allowing them to internalize lessons through direct experience rather than abstract instruction. We teach that all beings, human, animal, plant, water, and spirit, are connected, forming a vast living web of relationships. This belief emphasizes that every action has consequences within the larger system, encouraging mindfulness, respect, and ethical decision making. Recognizing interconnectedness fosters a sense of responsibility, reciprocity, and harmony, guiding how people live, learn, and care for the world and each other. Elders play a vital role in preserving and transmitting cultural knowledge, serving as living libraries of tradition, language, and history. They serve as the cultural custodians of our communities, safeguarding traditions, values, and ancestral knowledge. Through mentorship and guidance, they help younger generations understand their roles, responsibilities, and identities within the community. Storytelling is a vital way they share wisdom, weaving values, ethics, and life lessons into memorable narratives. In doing so, they ensure education remains meaningful, deeply rooted in Indigenous knowledge, and connected to a lived experience. Gathering and talking, what we refer to as a talking circle, is a traditional Indigenous practice that creates a safe, respectful space where everyone's voice holds equal weight. This method encourages non-interruptive speaking, deep listening, and shared understanding, fostering mutual respect and empathy. Talking circles promote empowerment through equality, reinforcing the belief that every perspective matters and that healing and learning happen collectively. In contrast, hierarchical classrooms, where the teacher leads and students often compete, talking circles break down power dynamics, encouraging collaboration over competition. This approach nurtures open dialogue, emotional safety, and mutual learning, making space for diverse voices and fostering a stronger sense of belonging. Experiential learning focuses on hands-on learning, gaining cultural values through activities, and learning through community-based activities. Education is grounded in hands-on experiential learning, where knowledge is gained through direct engagement with tasks, tools, and the natural world. Practical activities like crafting or harvesting or participating in ceremonies help individuals connect deeply with their heritage, community, and environment. This approach goes beyond theory, allowing learners to internalize skills and values through real-world practice, making learning meaningful, memorable, and rooted in a lived experience. Activities like hunting, gathering, and crafting are not just practical. They're vehicles for teaching cultural values such as respect, responsibility, and reciprocity. Through these traditional practices, individuals gain a holistic understanding of their place within the community and the natural world. These activities model interdependence, care for the land, and communal contribution, reinforcing identity and deepening cultural connection through a lived experience. Learning is often looked on as communal, where knowledge is shared through collaboration and participation, not isolation. Our activities are designed to draw on the strength of the group, emphasize shared knowledge, cooperation, and mutual support. This community-centered approach strengthens relationships, encourages intergenerational exchange, and ensures that learning is both culturally grounded and socially connected. We believe that nature is a respected teacher, offering lessons about balance, sustainability, and interconnectedness through direct observation and experience. The changing seasons, animal behaviors, and natural rhythms provide insight into how to live responsibly and in harmony with the earth. This perspective nurtures a deep reverence for all living beings, reinforcing the idea that humans are part of, not above, the natural world. Indigenous knowledge systems emphasize the interconnection between community, environment, and spirituality, viewing all aspects of life as part of an integrated whole. This holistic understanding nurtures a deep sense of responsibility to one another, to the land, and to future generations, grounded in relational values. Unlike Western education, which often separates knowledge into distinct disciplines, Indigenous learning is interdisciplinary and experiential, fostering a more meaningful and connected understanding of the world. I'm going to talk about the role of education in sustaining Indigenous cultural identity across 5 key periods. First, I'll start with education before colonization, when knowledge was passed down through families, elders, and the land. Then I'll move into the 19th century, a time when colonial policies and residential schools disrupted traditional learning and tried to erase Indigenous culture. Next, I'll look at the 1970s, when many communities began cultural and language revitalization efforts to reclaim their heritage. After that, I'll discuss the 2000s, when Indigenous-led schools and programs grew stronger, blending academic learning with cultural teachings. Finally, I'll talk about present day, where education continues to be a powerful tool for cultural pride, identity, and self-determination. Before colonization, education was oral and deeply relational, with knowledge passed down through storytelling, songs, ceremonies, and lived experience. Language played a central role in transmitting traditions, values, and identity, preserving cultural continuity across generations. Education was not separate from life. It was embedded in daily practices, emphasizing community, spirituality, and the land as integral to the learning process. In the 19th century, many Indigenous children were forcibly taken from their families and placed in government and church-run boarding schools aimed at assimilation. These schools often prohibited Indigenous languages, spiritual practices, and cultural traditions, resulting in a profound disruption of identity, knowledge systems, and community ties. The trauma and cultural loss from this era continue to affect Indigenous communities today, shaping efforts toward healing, language revitalization, and cultural restoration. The 1970s saw a resurgence in Indigenous activism, sparking efforts to reclaim cultural identity, sovereignty, and self-determination in education. This era marked the revival of Indigenous languages, traditional teachings, and community-based education, often led in grassroots movements and tribal nations. Schools and programs began to reintegrate Indigenous worldviews, honoring the importance of ancestral knowledge, cultural practices, and local control over education. In the 2000s, there was growing recognition of the value of Indigenous knowledge systems within mainstream education. Educational institutions began making intentional efforts to include Indigenous perspectives, languages, and histories in curriculum, often in collaboration with tribal communities. These efforts emphasize the importance of cultural identity and representation, helping Indigenous students feel seen and fostering respect and understanding among all learners. Today, our communities lead dynamic initiatives to revive languages, cultural practices, and traditional knowledge through education rooted in our values. Partnerships between tribal leaders, educators, and institutions support community-based education models that prioritize Indigenous voices and perspectives. These efforts nurture cultural pride, healing, and resilience, ensuring that Indigenous knowledge continues to thrive for future generations. Indigenous education systems often face chronic underfunding, resulting in limited resources, inadequate facilities, and barriers to quality learning. Many curricula include distorted or incomplete portrayals, or none at all, of Indigenous histories and perspectives, which can alienate students and undermine cultural pride. Despite these challenges, Indigenous communities show remarkable resilience and adaptability, actively reclaiming and revitalizing their educational traditions. These efforts foster a strong sense of cultural identity and belonging, empowering young learners to connect deeply with their heritage. Embracing Indigenous ways of learning deepens the educational experience, bringing in holistic knowledge and time-tested wisdom. Integrating these perspectives promotes cultural respect, inclusivity, and understanding among all students, celebrating diversity. Educators can build more balanced and connected classrooms by valuing Indigenous traditions alongside other knowledge systems, supporting deeper engagement and relevance. In closing, Indigenous education reminds us that learning is holistic, experiential, and deeply connected to community, culture, and the natural world. By integrating Indigenous knowledge, we enrich education for everyone, fostering respect, inclusivity, and a stronger sense of interconnectedness. While historical and ongoing challenges such as underfunding and cultural erasure have impacted these systems, Indigenous communities have shown remarkable resilience, revitalizing languages, traditions, and teaching practices. Moving forward, it is essential for educators, policymakers, and learners to support Indigenous-led education, honor traditional knowledge systems, and embrace culturally responsive approaches. By doing so, we create pathways for more sustainable, respectful, and inclusive ways of learning that benefit all communities. Thank you for taking the time to engage and listen with these perspectives. May we continue learning with humility, respect, and openness. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Lenora.
Thank you, Margaret. Wonderful presentation. And I believe we have, I have Dr. Raut's slides now. So I'm going to share my screen, Dr. Raut, and then if you just go ahead.
I got a pop-up window that I have been made as a presenter. So shall I try once?
Yes, please try it once.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You please share. I'm not able to share it.
Okay. Just let me know when you are ready for an advancement, and I will be happy to advance for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you, Lenora. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Margaret. Namaste, everyone, and warm greetings to everyone joining us across the globe. I'm Dr. Nishikant Raut. I'm a professor at Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Rashtra Sant Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University, Nagpur, India. It is really my privilege to share insights into India's rich legacy of indigenous healing and learning practices. So today I'll be focusing on how India is validating these traditional systems through science and integrating them into the modern education and healthcare. Next slide, please. So these indigenous knowledge systems are not just historical artifacts. In fact, they are the living traditions. And in India, these systems are deeply rooted, particularly in nature, spirituality, and community-based wisdom. So indigenous healing systems are integral to cultural identity and holistic well-being. So in this presentation, I'll be discussing the rich traditions of healing in India, their recognition by modern governance, and their integration into public health policies. So it will also highlight the significance of the scientific validation and the role of educational institutions in preserving traditional knowledge. I'll also share how India is documenting, validating, and integrating traditional healing and educational systems into contemporary frameworks. Next slide, please. So India is home to a variety of healing traditions, including Ayurveda, Siddha, and Unani. And these systems developed over millennia emphasize a holistic understanding of the health, balancing body, mind, and spirit. So they usually offer a unique perspective on health, blending the ancient wisdom with modern insights, ensuring community resilience and well-being. And additionally, our tribal communities have preserved rich folk healing traditions based on the local herbs and ancestral wisdom. So there are certain healing modalities in India, and prominent systems like Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani focuses on the natural ingredients and holistic treatments. So these therapies are complemented by our tribal and folk medicine practices, and that exist within various communities, particularly. allowing the diverse approaches to wellness that cater to local needs and traditions. There are certain community reliances and healing practices also. So in many Indian communities, indigenous healing practices form the backbone of healthcare. So people utilize these local healers and traditional methods while maintaining strong ties to their cultural heritage. And this reliance foster trust and respect for indigenous knowledge within the community. Next slide, please. So the government is also recognizing the importance of indigenous healing through initiatives like the Ministry of Ayush, uh, aiming to promote these traditional systems within modern healthcare frameworks. And this is the acknowledgement. This acknowledgement is crucial for preserving cultural practices and enhancing public health. So this Ministry of Ayush has played a very important role since its establishment in 2014. And I was very fortunate enough to uh, attend that particular event, that was World Ayurveda Congress, 8th World Ayurveda Congress, in which our Honorable Prime Minister has announced the formation of the Ministry of Ayush during the inaugural session of World Ayurveda Congress. So the responsibility which Ayush is having for the development of promotion of Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, and homeopathy. And it plays a pivotal role in establishing health centers that integrate traditional medicines into India's healthcare system and ensure the standards of practices. Uh, it also takes the efforts for standardization and regulations. The regulatory frameworks are essential for integration of the traditional healing into mainstream healthcare, and the consistent efforts are made to standardize these practices, ensure the quality of herbal products, and uphold the safety and efficacy of indigenous treatments through continuous research and policy support. Next slide, please. So to bridge the traditions with the modern science, uh, Indian research institutions like ICMR, CSIR, CCRS, and several universities like RTMNU have undertaken systematic studies to validate traditional remedies. And this includes identifying the active phytoconstituents, then conducting preclinical and clinical studies, and ensuring safety and efficacy of the herbal formulations. And these research initiatives aim to bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and modern scientific understanding. So robust clinical trials are essential for assessing the safety and efficacy of traditional therapies, though they are being established since time immemorial. Ongoing pharmacovigilance initiatives aim to monitor adverse effects and interactions associated with the herbal products uh, that ensures this treatment meets safety standards for public use. Next slide, please. So let me share some of the examples that highlight how traditional Indian remedies are being scientifically validated. The first of its kind is the ashwagandha, that is well known for its ability to reduce stress and boost stamina. So formulations like ashwagandha grita and ashwagandha masi have been standardized for safety and consistent quality at RTMNU. And the very well known curcumin, that is the active constituent in the turmeric, has shown strong anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer properties in various studies. So at our university, we are also researching currently on the Gomayadi Tela, that is a classical Ayurvedic eye formulation, and using the rabbit eye model, which is widely used to assess ocular efficacy and safety. So these examples show how traditional knowledge is being strengthened through modern science, creating opportunities for evidence-based integration into the healthcare. Next slide, please. So the ancient Indian education system that was in the form of the Gurukula, that was focused on the learning by actual hands-on training, storytelling, and close interaction between the teacher and student. It wasn't just about the knowledge, it also emphasized values, discipline, and a connection with nature. And with the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020, that encourages bringing this indigenous knowledge system back into the classrooms and help students stay rooted in culture while developing practical skills. Next slide, please. So these tribal communities across India, like Gond, Santhal, and Bhil, and there are many more. They have their own healing traditions, and these involve the particularly forest herbs, certain rituals, then food-based seasonal practices. The knowledge is often passed on orally within the community, and the Indian government, through Tribal Health and Knowledge Initiative, is now working to document and preserve these valuable practices. Next slide, please. So in many Indian families, the health knowledge is passed from one generation to the next. And sometimes that is through the formal mentorship like Guru Shishya tradition or through daily life practices. And these traditions are closely tied to festivals, rituals, and seasonal routines in India. So which help ensure that people follow them year after year, keeping these community health practices alive. And we have organized certain programs in the past for the conservation of this Lok Swasthya Parampara, or what we know the community health practices. Next slide, please. Now the James of India, who are the treasure for these traditional healing practices in India. Those are our India's traditional healers, like Vaids, Baigas, Ojas, and Bhagats in their respective communities. And those are trusted figures in their communities. So they use local herbs and cultural knowledge to provide healing and promote wellness. Many government programs now recognize their importance, but more needs to be done to formally include them in health systems and protect their traditional wisdom legally. So the Ayush is also supporting such type of initiatives. Next slide, please. The one such organization that is I am associated with is the Society for Ethnopharmacology. So as a part of Society for Ethnopharmacology, I've been involved in traditional healers conclaves held during annual conferences. And these events bring traditional healers and scientists together on the one platform. And that gives us the chance to listen to the healers, learn their experiences, and document their valuable knowledge. So this kind of exchange helps build mutual respect between the traditional and modern systems. And with these initiatives, these traditional healers are now building the scientific communities. Next slide, please. So we are also organizing such type of traditional healers conclaves at the World Ayurveda Congress. And these gatherings promote direct interaction between the tribal healers, professional Ayurvedic experts, and researchers. And they create a space to share knowledge, preserve traditional practices, and explore how these ancient wisdom can be supported through scientific understanding. Next slide, please. So in order to safeguard the traditional knowledge in India, India has taken significant steps to safeguard its traditional medical knowledge. The traditional knowledge digital library remains a key initiative, documenting over 300,000 classical formulations to prevent biopiracy and ensure responsible use of indigenous systems. And this TKDL was started way back in 2001. Recently, probably in the last week, WHO released a technical brief recognizing India's leadership in integrating artificial intelligence with the traditional medicine, especially within the Ayush systems. And based on India's proposal, WHO developed its first roadmap for artificial intelligence in traditional medicine. And this India's digital platform like Sahi, Namaste, and Ayush research portals, they particularly highlight two major contributions. First is the preserving ancient medical knowledge, and second is creating an evidence-based, globally accessible system. So WHO also noted India's use of AI for digitizing text, analyzing drug actions, and comparing systems like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicines, and many more. India is thus leading globally in blending tradition with the technology, setting a model for future healthcare. Next slide, please. So the universities in India, like RTMNU, they are playing an important role in preserving and promoting indigenous knowledge. And under the National Education Policy 2020, institutions are now integrating indigenous knowledge systems into academics. We have established dedicated centers for IKS and tribal studies. We are also carrying out research in various areas, such as the herbal pharmacology and phyto pharmacology, and other. We are also offering certain certificate and diploma programs. And these initiatives not only preserve traditional wisdom, but also support community development, employment, and entrepreneurship, especially in rural areas. Next slide, please. So, with there is a need that we should bridge the tradition with the modern technologies, and India is setting an example by combining traditional knowledge with the modern science, and as we have seen in the previous slides, like AI. And we are also utilizing techniques like high performance liquid chromatography, high performance thin layer chromatography, and several other sophisticated analytical techniques and clinical trials, so which are used to test the safety and effectiveness of the herbal remedies. Uh, Apart from that, the yoga and Ayurveda are also being included in public health programs to promote wellness and prevention. So, however, as we blend these systems, it is very important to ensure ethical practices, respecting the rights and consent of the communities who hold this knowledge. And true progress lies in balanced approach where tradition and science coexist. And therefore, the government is also taking efforts to safeguard the intellectual properties of the traditional healers, as well as the communities who are holding this particular traditional knowledge. Next slide, please. So, if these are simply my views on this particular collaboration of RTMNU and PS College. So, our collaboration with the PS College is definitely a meaningful step towards cross-cultural academic exchange. And through joint webinars like this, student projects and shared research in future. So we are learning from each other and celebrating different ways of knowing. And I believe this partnership will reflect what we call knowledge diplomacy, where the education becomes a bridge between the cultures, fostering mutual respect and global understanding. Next slide, please. So at the conclusion, so India's indigenous knowledge systems are not just the part of the history. They are vibrant, adaptable, and deeply relevant today. When respected and validated properly, definitely they will offer holistic solution for health and sustainability. The collaborations like this one with the RTMNU and the PS College will definitely help us preserve this wisdom and share it with the world. So let us continue working together to honor, protect, and learn from these valuable traditions. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
There we go, get my microphone on. Thank you, Dr. Raut, for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Where we generally go now is to open up to the participants in the webinar and open up for questions for uh, Professor Gutierrez and Dr. Raut. So if you would like to unmute your microphone and ask any questions, we'd be happy to have you. Well, if you don't mind if I start with one,
Yeah, please.
most of the people here, so I'm going to encourage our participants to focus on some things that they may want to ask. But many of our participants here are emergency management, and also would like to say that we are recording this, and the recording will be made available for people who are unable to attend at this time to the live presentation. So we will be recording and posting that for people who are interested. But many of our participants work in public safety and emergency management fields. And I was wondering if you both might be interested in talking about how you see the intersection of Indigenous knowledge and emergency and disaster work, and some things happening now, or some innovations where you think that the intersection of those two fields may come together.
Yeah, definitely. We can use this indigenous knowledge of healing uh, for the emergency situations at home. So we have a treasure of the what we can say several medicaments at home only, because our food habits are such that most of the culminaries and several what we can say those are having the medicinal properties, and many a times we don't go for allopathy kind of medicines. We particularly follow our traditional ways of healing, and in case of emergencies like cut on the hands or anywhere on the body, we usually apply that curcumin, right? That means turmeric we directly apply. So such type of things are already there in the indigenous system of medicine in India, and we regularly follow it.
Thank you. Margaret?
Sure. I would say that we have always been observers of natural indicators. So when you're talking about like environmental awareness or early warning, you think about island communities and how long they relied on ocean currents or cloud formations or bird migrations as natural early warning systems, changes in animal behavior, wild wind patterns, plant life cycles. We have done this for generations and generations, long before there was a topic called disaster response or public safety. And so we continue to focus on things. When we look at sustainable land and resource management, we do things like controlled burns, protecting our watersheds, agroforestry to reduce vulnerability to wildfires and erosion. Um, our communities often build with sustainable, locally sourced, flexible materials. So I would say that we have just done it for generations and continue to do it in our daily lives. And reintegrating some of those traditional practices helps align those two communities.
Thank you both very much. Do we have any participant questions?
That means we did a really good job presenting and we answered all the questions already.
Obviously so. Uh, well, I had another one, if you don't mind. Um, One of the things that struck me in Dr. Raut's presentation, and in both your discussions a second ago, was that focus on the local. And I know from an American's perspective, we always look on scaling to the larger. How do you feel would be appropriate and respectful ways to take the kind of knowledge that is within your communities, and uh, and respectfully be able to draw on that knowledge for people who are maybe outside of the communities, but not be exploitive. I saw Dr. Raut's presentation about biopiracy, I think is what he termed it, where people were commercializing. What is a respectful way to be able to amplify and connect people to knowledge without being exploitive? Margaret, would you like to go? Oh, Dr. Raut, please go ahead.
Yeah. So in India, we always perform certain awareness programs for the people of different communities about the traditional healing systems or traditional what we can say medicines. And recently, my colleague Dr. Prakash Itankar, he is in the experts panel for designing a curriculum for the Pharmacy Council of India, and they have introduced one of the course that was, I think, that is traditional healing practices of India, and that is a 2 credit course that has been introduced as an elective, and we are also planning at our department that we should start such type of things for the general people apart from the pharmacy students, so that the traditional healing practices of India should reach to the masses, and the communities should be benefited.
Sounds intriguing. I wish I could take that course. Margaret, do you have anything?
Yeah, I would say from a little bit of a different lens in anything that you do with any sort of cultured community, one of the things that I always share and teach is start with relationships, not projects. You don't go in with a conversation focused on what your need is or what your ask is. You go in and you ask how families are and interact like a respectful human. Build trust before asking for knowledge. Make sure that that relationship is reciprocal rather than transactional. Um, Recognize the ownership of the intellectual property. Who has the authority to share that knowledge? And are there approvals needed before using that information? Making sure that you have informed consent, that it's voluntary, ongoing. It's not like, thank you for the information and then you walk away and don't ever come back. And then I think just in general, being respectful of sacred and sensitive information. Um, if somebody says something can't be shared, be respectful that it can't be shared and be appreciative that you were a part of that conversation initially and were able to receive that information. And then the last thing I'll say is um, it's really important not to just extract information out of communities, but be in the process with the community and participate as a participant.
Well, this is one of those places where what you guys do overlaps what I do. One of the biggest determinants of disaster recovery is based in social connections and understanding and strengthening those connections within community building itself and connections between a community. So this is one of those perfect intersections that I see. Um, I'm going to open it one more time uh, for other participants who might have questions of our esteemed speakers. And hearing or seeing nothing, I'm going to say thank you to both of our speakers, uh, Dr. Raut and Professor Gutierrez. Very interesting topics and very relevant and current. Appreciate you both coming and sharing your expertise with us. Like I've said at the beginning, this is the fourth of our 6 webinar series. This is our July offering. We will have next month, we will talk about recovery with Dr. Rockabrand, and I'm not sure who our Indian guest speaker is. I'm sorry. And then we will end our series in September with a discussion of pop culture. And I will be one of the people coming back on that one. So we'll talk about disasters and pop culture and how that affects and intersects with how people prepare for disasters. With this, one of the things that you will get from this is a participant badge. So you will be look in your email. Usually within a day or two, we will get your badges. We hope that you're posting them and letting people know about the great knowledge in our webinar series on your LinkedIn and your professional and social media pages. If you participate in all 6, you will be able to receive the series badge. Other than that, again, thank you, Dr. Raut and Professor Gutierrez. And thank you to all of our 85 other people who took the time today, morning and evening, to participate. And hopefully we'll see you again next month.
Yeah. Thank you, Lenora. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you, Lenora, for being our host. And thank you, Dr. Raut.
Thank you.
You guys have a great evening.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
You too.